again with another really sort of deep and interesting topic to discuss today. And that is happiness real? Let's explore, shall we? What is happiness really? At its core, happiness seems like a straightforward concept. Experience of positive emotions like joy, satisfaction, or contentment. But the more you dig into it, the more abstract and elusive it becomes. Is happiness a permanent state, or is it fleeting? Something we can only catch glimpses of. In psychology, happiness is often viewed as a spectrum. There's hedonic happiness, which is tied to pressure and avoiding pain, and eudaimonic happiness, which is more about meaning and self-realization. Think of hedonic happiness as the joy you get from eating your favorite pizza or playing a video game, while eudaimonic happiness is the fulfillment you feel when you accomplish something deeply meaningful, like helping a loved one or achieving your personal goal. But these forms of happiness are often fleeting. Hedonic happiness fades as soon as the pleasure of the moment passes. Even eudaimonic happiness can feel distant when life throws challenges your way. So is the pursuit of happiness a chase for something that slips away as soon as we grasp it? Is happiness an illusion? Some philosophers, like author Schopenhauer, believed that happiness is largely an illusion. Schopenhauer argued that life is full of suffering and dissatisfaction. When we achieve something that makes us happy, we often find ourselves wanting more. He saw human desire as an endless cycle. We constantly pursue things we think will make us happy, but when we get them, the happiness is short-lived, and we start wanting something else. In this view, happiness is more like a carrot on a stick, always dangling in front of us, leading us to believe that if we just achieve this or get that, we'll finally be happy. But once we reach it, there's something else further ahead. Then there's the Buddhist perspective, which sees happiness as being tied to letting go of desire altogether. Buddhists argue that the more we chase after happiness, the more we suffer. True happiness, they say, comes from accepting life as it is, without attachment to outcomes or external things. Wow, that's crazy. I might have to look into that a little bit more. The American dream and happiness. The American dream promises that happiness is within reach if you follow certain steps. But very few people actually seem to achieve that kind of happiness that dream promises. It raises questions. Is happiness something that can really be achieved, like a goal, or is it more about how we experience the journey itself? The idea that happiness is something you can win can make it feel like an unattainable prize for most people, especially when life presents constant challenges, struggles, and setbacks. That's why so many people feel disillusioned when they don't get the happiness they've been told is waiting for them if they just work hard enough. Wow, facts. Happiness as a construct. Some thinkers suggest that happiness is a social construct, as a concept we've built up over time, influenced by culture, media, and societal expectations. We're told that certain things, success, a big house, a family, financial stability, will make us happy. But these are external measures, and they don't necessarily reflect true emotional well-being. Psychologist Daniel Kahneman, who won a Nobel Prize for his work on decision making, found that there's a difference between what we think will make us happy and what actually makes us happy. People often overestimate the happiness that will come from achievements like making more money or having a higher status, and underestimate the smaller everyday moments that bring joy, like meaningful conversations or spending time out in nature. But is happiness achievable? The answer is complicated. Some research in positive psychology suggests that we all have a baseline level of happiness, determined by our genetics and personality. Life events can cause temporary spikes or dips, but we tend to return to that baseline over time. That might sound discouraging, but it also means that happiness doesn't depend entirely on external circumstances. It can also come from within. Oh wow. It can also come from within. Well, okay. One theory is that instead of chasing happiness as a destination, we can cultivate moments of happiness in our lives through gratitude, mindfulness, and meaningful connections. Mindfulness, for instance, teaches that happiness comes from being fully present in the moment, rather than constantly yearning for something better. So doesn't that kind of go back to the whole Buddhist thing? Is mindfulness just a part of Buddhism? That sounds very similar. By focusing on the here and now, on what we do have rather than what we don't, we may find happiness in the simplest experiences without pressure of constantly trying to achieve it. In the end, is happiness real or is it a lie? The answer might depend on how we define happiness and where we choose to look for it. If we see happiness as a permanent, unshakable state of bliss, then yes, it may feel like an illusion. Life is too full of complexities, challenges, and changes for happiness to be constant. But if we see happiness as a series of moments, small but meaningful flashes of joy, then perhaps happiness is very real, even if it's not something we can hold on to forever. Okay. To echo something the philosopher Alan Watts said, happiness isn't something you achieve by struggling to get to the top of the mountain. It's the dance of life, the moment, the journey itself. Happiness is not a destination. It's in the steps we take along the way. So maybe happiness isn't so much an illusion as it is a fleeting state we touch upon in moments, like a breeze passing by. We may not be able to hold onto it forever, but those moments of happiness, whether small or grand, are what makes life feel meaningful. So this came up the other day because, I think one thing I'm going to start doing is like reading my conversations with ChatGPT, because I end up asking some really profound questions, I think, and get some really interesting responses. And I can't remember what triggered it, but the other day I just straight up asked, like, is happiness real? You know what I mean? And that all kind of tied into like illusions and lies and like the perception of things and like the American dream and all of that, all of these concepts, right? And I can't remember why I ended up, what specifically made me ask, is happiness real? But it suddenly came into my head that maybe it isn't. Maybe you can't be happy. Maybe it's like, I can't remember what it was, but thought I was on the internet one time, and you know how the internet is. But I was looking in the comment section, and you know you should never do that. Never look in the comment section of anything ever, because it's bad news. But it was, they were talking about something, and then one person was like, well, that is just a human construct, and blah 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 blah, and it was like, at first I thought it was very ridiculous, and honestly, in the grand scheme of it, and that particular topic it was, which I'm not going to get into, but it started making me think about like other things that might be like a human-made construct, and it's like, what if happiness isn't something that's actually real? You know what I mean? So, and then also, I guess another question would have been to ask AI would be, are animals happy? Because if happiness is a man-made construct, then that means that nothing outside of humans are happy, right? I mean, I guess technically with the whole moments of joy thing, there's that, but it's like, you know, if you were like a deer, do you get those moments very often? Because, you know, you're prey to so many different things, especially if you're like out in the jungle. You know, every now and then I'll have this like existential dread where I think of myself as like an animal living in like the African jungle, and I'm like a deer or a what the hell, or antelope or a giraffe or something, and it's like day in and day out, like you're constantly like on edge, you know what I mean? Like you're like, if you snapped away in just a second, you know what I mean? Because there's something constantly hunting you, you know what I mean? And you might not even realize it, but you're always kind of alert, you know what I mean? So it's like, you know, what would it be like if life were constantly like that? If it were like a deer or not, or a deer or an antelope or a zebra, you know, in Africa, you know what I mean, where you have lions and tigers, and are tigers in Africa? I don't know the tigers, but I know cheetahs are, and leopards maybe. Anyways, but you have these big, powerful predators, right? And they're strong and they're smart, and you know they can see like in the nighttime, so there isn't really a safe time, you know what I mean? And so it's like, you know, when do certain animals even dream, you know what I mean? But anyways, my point is like, if your life is constantly like just a state of trying to survive, like I don't know, literal sense, then can you be happy? You know what I mean? Like, what makes the antelope happy? You know what I mean? Like, does it get to experience that? You know what I mean? Like, maybe it's happy after it like narrowly dodges, you know, getting eaten by a pack of lions. You know what I mean? Like, it did that thing where it jumps really high and, you know, it got away. You know what I mean? Like, maybe in that moment, that's happiness. But at the same time, that would also be a whole lot of other things too, you know, anxiety and all kinds of. So anyways, where was I going with this? Animals and happiness and the human construct, right? So it's like, you know, like in happiness, you know what I mean? But it's like, if you look at babies and like almost across the board of like species and whatnot, like so many baby creatures seem so happy, you know what I mean? And there's this period of like allowed naivete, where like they just get to be kind of like young and free, right? Like even like the lion cubs, you know, they get to play around and have fun, and until like the real reality ends up hitting, you know, when they get a certain age. And it's kind of like humans, you know what I mean? We basically get like the first 18 years of like, you know, bliss, where our parents are taking care of us, and you know, we're kind of absorbing the world, and you know, one day, you know, everything will be put into perspective, and it's not going to be so cushy and fun and, you know, carefree. But when you're younger, you're always so much happier. You remember these awesome moments, and you see that in like, you know, little bear cubs and, you know, kittens and puppies and all kinds of things, you know what I mean? So even like out in the wild, so it's like, you know, happiness does exist, but like, is it only during the youth? You know what I mean? So anyways, that's just one of the happiness is a construct. I don't know if I finished that. Like, I know I was just talking about it, but like, if that was a man-made construct, anyways, I think I just countered that, right? So I don't think happiness is a man-made construct. I don't know. I don't know how attainable it is in the grand scheme of things. You know what I mean? Like, if you look back on most people, like their fondest memories are typically when they're younger. You know what I mean? Like before they graduate, basically. You know what I mean? Because then life really hits. So, but then you have those certain moments where it's like some people get married. That's a big moment for them. You know what I mean? They have kids. They graduate college. You know what I mean? They have these other kind of achievements, but that kind of goes back into that hedonic versus if you died at, you know, those other states of happiness and all that. So, but I forget where I got onto this and happiness, and I think I was because of a trend of maybe depression I was on. I don't know, where it was like, where was I going with this? ADHD. This is definitely my fault because literally, like, for the last 4 days, I have not taken my medicine. I've been on a whole other thing. Obviously, you can tell by these. You can tell by this, like. Anyways, but it's obviously better than normal because I haven't taken my meds, and I just, if chose not to. I mean, I don't even like get into all that. But, crap, I forget where I was going with that. Where were we going with that? What are we talking about? Happiness and depression. We're talking about depression. And why was I asking if happiness was real? I don't know. But I was about to loop back to that Buddhist thing. Was like, maybe I'm expecting too much, you know what I mean? I love things, you know what I mean? Like, maybe I shouldn't be looking for happiness. Anyways, I've been saying for a while, like, I need to find some type of, like, life philosophy to live by, you know what I mean? Like, I need to find some type of spirituality, because this, like, limbo that I'm in right now isn't cutting it, you know what I mean? Like, I have no idea how atheists just, like, exist and, like, have nothing to, like, I don't know. Like I said a while ago, people have thought that I was an atheist, but I'm not an atheist. I don't know where I'm at, you know what I mean? And so, but I believe I need something to believe in, so, I'll have to continue exploring that and see, because, you know, I keep ending up in these, like, existential dread and existential thinking zones, and those are very not great places to end up on a frequent basis. So, I think that's the video. Happiness. Are you happy? That's the great question. If you're watching this video right now, are you happy? And if you aren't happy right now, when was the last time you were happy? And what do you think will make you happy? Do you see something ahead of you right now where it's like, if all these things, when I get to this spot, that's happiness, you know what I mean? What is that spot for you? You know, where does happiness arrive for you? And again, if you've already have it, then what's making you happy? And what is your thoughts on happiness? You know what I mean? Do you think it's fleeting? Do you think there's a baseline? Do you think it's non-existent? Do you think it's a construct? Do you think it's fake? Like, what do you think? Let me know where you're at with your happiness. I mean, I can only hope you're happy, but I don't know. One can only be so happy. Right? Maybe I'm wrong. But until I see you guys in the next video, thanks for watching.